Welcome back to PumpFun Daily. I'm Aaron. In today's episode, we have a lot to cover coming from Lighter. Lighter is going to be the main focus of the show. We have updates with PumpFun and Hyperliquid as well, and the rest of the crypto and macro ecosystem. Let's first take a look at the price of Bitcoin. Bitcoin sitting around $63,000. It's still treading in this range. The same range it's been in pretty much, the entire summer. Now let's take a look at the price of Hyperliquid. Big question. Did Hyperliquid have a local bottom right here, $52? Currently, it's up almost over 2% at $55 as I'm recording this. Lighter, still looking a little bit shaky here in the short term. We'll see if we're going to come down probably to this 180 level, or if we end up bouncing from here. We'll see what happens. Pump looks really, really, really good, but it keeps getting rejected by this level right here. But I do think it is only a matter of time before PumpFun breaks out, so things are looking good. Let's go to our macro news. So the S&P 500 hit a new all-time high today, okay? And I'm going to be honest, it feels like I have no clue how this thing, like, how does this even happen? I mean, we know how it happens, but it's like, is the S&P 500 ever going to have a real correction? Is this ever, like, this is the most absurd chart ever. Take a look at, like, the weekly. This is insane. This, and really it highlights just how bad the wealth distribution has gotten. I mean, Jesus Christ. Like, it's literally up only. Absolutely absurd. But the S&P 500 tripping. If you take a look at the companies, Palantir's doing super, super well right now. They're up 26%. Jesus. That is huge. But anyways, so that's our first macro story. Elon Musk, SpaceX, the second thing is they're going to report earnings. I don't think it's going to be good. I think Elon put out a tweet saying he doesn't really care how the earnings go. He's just kind of focused on building. And for crypto, the Clarity Act has 3 days to pass. We'll see if it passes. Nobody actually knows, but yeah, I hope it gets passed. But even if it doesn't, it is what it is. Eventually, some sort of legislation has to get passed. When we take a look at the Hyperliquid stats for today, pretty interesting. The TWAPs are actually negative, and I think this does show that, hey, potentially there could be some sell pressure coming in. The Hype holders has hit 250K. This is good. Big news here. When we go to Lighter's metrics on lighterdata.io have kind of taken a little dip. I don't think this is really a shocker considering the price has taken a little dip as well, and I think there's going to be a lot of good stuff to come for Lighter. I personally think it's going to be a great range if it continues to dip more. I want to kind of get into the main focus of this show, though, and it's going to be what Trevor Flipper is saying on Twitter. So this guy is an employee at Lighter, and I highly recommend you guys follow him. And he put out a lot of stuff on Twitter. He put this out. We covered it in our show yesterday, but I don't think we covered his comments that he made that are super, super important, that he made yesterday, I think, after I recorded the show. So he said this. In a response to his own article, he put, "We have had many good conversations with professional allocators over the last weeks and want to make sure that the community/retail is also up to date and getting the same discourse as funds. We want retail to be getting the same info and clarity as professional allocators. Please reach out if you have any questions." Really good stuff. So if you are an investor in Lighter, you can always hit up Trevor. I don't know how long it'll take to respond, but he just said you can hit him up if you have questions. So take a look at this response he had to somebody asking about, love to hear how y'all think about regulation, Lighter's place in regulated finance. For example, if Clarity passes, are there plans to turn Lit into a crypto security? Blah, 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 blah. He responds, appreciate the thoughtful question. We'll try to hit all of them. Regulation and clarity. Lighter's focus is the CFTC, not the SEC. Clarity passing would be a positive for crypto broadly, but it does not materially change our business or our path forward. We want to register with the CFTC regardless of whether Clarity passes. What a CFTC license unlocks today, and this is what I've been saying every day on the show pretty much, U.S. users cannot legally access on-chain perp venues. A license changes that. Absolutely huge. So that includes the Robinhood users. The distribution partners we are building towards, think about brokerages and prime brokers, all require that license before they can offer perps to their users. So the license is not about Lighter changing how it works. It is about unlocking the distribution channels that already exist in TradFi. We want to bring TradFi onto DeFi rails. That is how a Citadel ends up trading on Lighter. they would access it through a regulated integration, not by connecting a wallet. And that's exactly the whole point I've been trying to make every day on the show. And I think you guys probably understand this. It's the barrier that's stopping Lighter from growing right now is the fact that they don't have the license. Because you legally, there's technical things and then there's legal things. And legally, these companies cannot integrate with Lighter and work with them until they get the license. That's just the way it works. So he says here, retail versus institutional. We want both. Retail comes through distribution partners, Robinhood Wallet, Telegram Wallet, other wallets and apps that own the end users. Institutional comes through the same infrastructure, but via regulated channels post-license, okay? Keyword, post-license. And keyword, institutional means big money, whale. Institutional equal whale. Post-license, okay? Retail flow tends to be quite cyclical, while institutional flow tends to be a bit more mechanical / systematic, which would be great for our biz. We are building the rails that serve both institutions and retail. Distribution strategy. The app is built well because it serves power users and traders who come direct. However, we also have a growth thesis which comes via distribution through our partners. A new user might find Lighter through Robinhood, through Telegram, through a wallet, or through a fintech / exchange in various parts of the world that plugs into our infrastructure via partner attribution. This is another big thing, and Lighter won't only just be used as a front end thing. So it's not always going to be like, oh, you're going to the Lighter trading partner. You could be trading on Robinhood in the future. In the back end, the infrastructure is Lighter, which Lighter makes money on that, and the Lighter token gets bought back with that money that they make from that. Anyways, we have 4 deployed engineers to help partners build on top of us. The economics work because we change partners essentially nothing, so their margin is better with us than anywhere else, which we believe to be quite compelling and competitive in this market. Customer acquisition. The strategy is to make the economics so favorable for distribution partners that they bring their users to us. This takes time as they build trust because they can make more money leveraging our info than our competitors. That said, the app matters for the crypto native power user who trades direct on Lighter. That is a real and important segment, not the primary growth vector. Ideal user. All of the above, the crypto native who wants zero fears of majors and tight spreads, a TradFi user who discovers perps through Robinhood brokerages, the systematic fund running strategies, the prop desk that needs cross-margin equity, the person who wants to trade pre-IPO names or commodities. Hope that helps. And thanks for reading the place. And you know what? My really big takeaway of this is just the same thing. I'm going to say it again for the 5th time this episode and the 100th time probably this month. Is all the big money that's in America, the most liquid country with the most money, and all the partners that they can get for retail distribution, they cannot access them until they get the license. So I think once they get the license, that's pretty much when the real show begins. Like they are capped at the moment. They cannot do a lot of things until they get the license. So now I want to point this out. So this guy commented, when is the CFTC license expected from your side? Trevor says, we wish we could share a timeline, but that is unknown. Oh my God, imagine they shared a timeline. People would start front running that. We are pleased with how the conversations are going. So, and once again, Vlad, the founder of Lighter, this is your first time getting into Lighter, he sits on the advisory board for the CFTC. So he's literally on an advisory board for the CFTC, and they're trying to get a license from the CFTC. So they're going to get one, very highly likely, but we just don't know when. And that's kind of the annoying part. We kind of have to sit here and wait, sort of like the Clarity Act. We just don't know. But on the flip side of things, in my personal opinion, I think it means we're early. And I think it means the price is pretty undervalued too. Bitcoin's in a bear market. Crypto's in a bear market. They don't have a license. So when I look at that, I look at crypto sentiment being bad. Most tokens have already had a, pretty much an 80% plus drawdown of some sort. And the masses of liquidity, their actual targets for liquidity, they can't access yet. It feels early. And I also want to play this clip. So I've watched about 15 minutes of this, and I thought this was a really interesting thing that Vlad, the founder of Lighter, just went on a podcast recently. And good job to the marketing team on Lighter for getting him on these podcasts. But I kind of want to point this out. I thought he said something really interesting and pretty important. So at 4:30, here we go.
For example, would imagine options on pre-IPO stocks, right? Because whether that stock is even if the actual stock isn't traded actually yet, like that doesn't mean the option couldn't be. And so you can actually have some, because it's one thing to have a perp, which we have that already, but for example, institutions that actually want to trade stocks and options. Like they can't trade the pre-IPO stock, but imagine that they could trade a tokenized version of the option.
Yeah, interesting.
So we're working on all of that. I think kind of full speed ahead here, and we met a lot of folks in London who are eager to be partners on various aspects of that stack.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that people are...
so that was absolutely huge what Vlad just said there. Okay, so he's talking about pre-IPO stocks. So right now, pre-IPO stocks don't exist on the Robinhood app. But imagine a scenario where Robinhood does bring pre-IPO stocks and they're using Lighter as the engine. And as he says right there, institutions could be interested in that as well. And once again, this all comes down to getting the license and all that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of stuff that, can be done here. The Lighter team not only is going to offer perps, but they're going to offer options. I personally think in the future, I think perps will get bigger than options. Like, for an example, Robinhood, obviously, their users are used to doing options. That's the traditional financial contract that they're used to. But when they bring perps over there, I do think perps will get bigger. But you're going to see a scenario where I think Robinhood is going to end up implementing Lighter as the back-end engine for a lot of their options stuff, which already has tons of demand, and using them for perps. Because you could speculate and say, okay, well, maybe the users don't want to leave options and they don't want to do perps as much as people think they do. Well, in that case, Lighter is doing options as well. So if Lighter can service Robinhood's perps and a lot of their new options financial contracts like pre-IPO stocks, which would be, I think, a huge success on Robinhood, and also getting those institutional allocators, sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. So I think it's really looking really good. We're going to move on to the next story, move on from Lighter. Take a look at this. Polymarket becomes official partner of the ATP, letting users live stream and trade tennis matches in-app. Pretty interesting. Not sure why I chose to cover this in today's video. But I also have some things I want to talk about with PumpFun. Take a look at this. In the last 24 hours, PumpFun has done over $3.5 million in fees. And if you exclude the stablecoin issuers, they are number one in crypto again. And it feels like every day now, PumpFun is number one in crypto in terms of revenue. So I'm not going to be too shocked if this thing ends up ripping a fat green candle soon. I think it's only a matter of time. But overall, I'm feeling bullish. The fundamentals continue to get better for Lighter, for Hyperliquid, for PumpFun. A lot of people are in a spot right now where they don't really like crypto, etc. But if you just take a look at what's actually happening with big money and those kinds of things, there's a lot of opportunity right now, especially with how weak, how big of a drawdown these tokens have saw in the past, 8 months or so. But anyways, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, join the Discord, follow me on Twitter, link in the description, and I'll see you tomorrow.